Okay, had plenty of time to rest, got some games beat. Let's get back to reviewing. What do we have first? Oh no, not that one. Anything but the Mondo Titanic movie. Oh wait, this is the other one. Still, was there anything else I could have done instead? Titanic it is then!
No other man in my heart, and so only happy we'll be.
Hello and welcome to another round of the Patreon board. We only have 2 requests this time, which is good since it means more time for the other videos. I'm getting the movie critic dude's request done first because it is quite a stinker. Remember when I did Tentacolino? That horrible sequel to another animated movie about the sinking of the Titanic? Well, while I would like to properly review that, after everything Simba the King Lion showed me and all, it seems fate has chosen to hand me this movie instead. And it was either that or the Norm of the North direct-to-DVD sequels, somehow merged into one, but if that isn't officially out yet, I don't think I should. Unlike today's film, which is actually a different version of the film you're used to seeing. Titanic, The Legend Goes On. It was made by Titanic Cartoons SRL? What? The only thing I could find on them is they were a studio in Italy, but that's about it. As far as I can tell, this was their only film to date, and it shows. As for Camelo Teddy, well, you remember Noah's Ark, aka El Arca?
Oh, stop! That tickles.
Yeah, how could I forget? The only other noteworthy credit is Jim Magan as a creative consultant. Well, considering this is an animated movie about the sinking of the Titanic, maybe the humor will at least be more bearable than the Mondo TV version. Either way, this is gonna sink faster than the real Titanic did. But let's at least take solace in knowing that the version we're looking at is the original uncut version, often referred to as Titanic the Animated Movie. Most people are generally familiar with the American cut, which several reviewers tend to look at, which has many changes when compared to the original. I won't be able to find them all, but I will at least go over the more noteworthy ones. For instance, in the American version, the film immediately begins with the Titanic already sunk, with a transition that implies that the majority of the movie is a flashback, whereas in the original cut, it begins more naturally with one of our main romantic leads, Angelica, on a train heading to the port that the titular ship is docked. We also get to see some dialogue that was cut out of the American version.
Now don't forget, my pretties, the purpose of this journey is husbands, handsome and wealthy. And don't you spoil things, Angelica. And stop moping over that picture. You're never going to find your precious mother.
Your precious mother!
Now, this doesn't change the fact that the dialogue and performances are bad throughout the movie. It's just we won't have to hear a lot of wacky sound effects and other things that got added for American audiences, on top of what we have already.
Angelica! Angelica!
See? We didn't have animal sound effects when the large daughter got knocked over. Also, the American version intercuts scenes together to try and better space out a scene, since while some shots seem long in the original, you could at least argue they were trying to draw you into what's supposed to be a breathtaking scene. Doesn't change the abundant humor though. Instead of mellow nothingness like Mondo TV's film, we get mostly slapstick and cartoon antics. Now the one thing about this Titanic movie that sets it apart from Mondo's films is that it obviously rips off multiple animated movies. I say this since just because this was made not long after the James Cameron film, don't forget, people have been making films about the Titanic for years, so it's not a direct ripoff of that movie, but let me tell you some of who we have showing up in this movie. We have Lady Tremaine and her 2 daughters, Cruella de Vil with Horace and Jasper, Fievel Mouskowitz, Pongo and Perdita, Gaston, and Speedy Gonzales.
Yeah, what's with the costumes, guys? We've been on tour, senor. And cannot wait to get home, muchachos?
Points to if you can guess every single thing they were from. Now about the plot. As the beginning established, Angelica has her heart set on finding her mother, who she hasn't seen since she was a baby, while her stepfamily is so snobby about that never happening. So it isn't so much like the James Cameron film where the lead is being forced into a business marriage. There's still a romantic plot involved since Angelica would eventually meet her love interest, William.
There'll be plenty of time for study.
I know, you're right. But I'm in no mood to enjoy myself.
I wonder if my little girl has had a proper education. Poor darling. Expect I'll never know.
Gee, how subtle. But there's also a couple subplots going on, like one involving this detective named Sam, who is looking for some jewel thieves, who just happen to include that one rich lady and her 2 lackeys we saw earlier, and thus is always in some kind of disguise, even if done poorly. And also the secretary, who really is named Gaston by the way, may be up to something. But hey, at least see some of what made the original better than the American cut.
You didn't pack our clothes properly, you clumsy girl. Pick up those bits of broken china at once. Then mend and iron our clothes so we can attend the reception to welcome us aboard. In any case, you can't come. You've nothing to wear.
Nothing to wear. And no one's going to lend you anything.
Oh wait, that was the American cut! Let's hear the original now.
Pick up those bits of broken china at once. Then mend and iron our clothes so we can attend the reception to welcome us aboard. In any case, you can't come. You can't come. You've nothing to wear. Nothing to wear. No one's going to lend you anything.
Nothing to wear. And no one's going to lend you anything.
Huh. It almost seems like both versions have their own positives while still making tons of mistakes like stumbling over words. Still, I think the uncut version might be the superior version in at least one aspect. Remember this scene?
We'll talk to Fritz about her.
Just the snack I'm looking for.
If it hadn't been for you, I would be now in someone else's digestion.
Well, here it is originally.
Papa! Papa! If it hadn't been for you, I would be now in someone else's digestion.
Well, from now on, try not to strike out on your own without checking with me first. Because, you see, I'm responsible for how the animals behave on this me.
But, there is still the one thing that I was dreading about, and sadly, it's also in this version as well. The rap.
Tell me, do you know? Do you really know? Do you know it, yes or no? Is it yes or is it no? Do you know who I really am? I'm the boss, and I command, I direct the band. Better stop it if you're breathing. Fist is here, it's time for pleasing, cause instead of being a hero, you know, you might become a zero.
What is this? Earlier he was just a normal dog, then suddenly he becomes some hip-hop gangsta dog that in no way should exist in this time frame. At least it's a little restrained compared to the American cut, since the context was that he was the watchdog for this ship who just decided to sing, but it gets out of hand. The American version just comes the hell out of nowhere and is even more loud and obnoxious than the original.
Working all day, now it's time to unwind. Kick back, relax, take a load off your mind. busting the moves and I'll be busting the rhymes. We'll be busting up laughing cause it's party time.
Also, what the hell is up with the different animation styles? Well, whatever. The uncut version also makes it clear that Fritz the dog wants the mice to grab food from the kitchen for a little party later. Hence why the American version shows parts of the food stealing scenes, despite it not making sense during the actual rap. Another thing too about Fritz is he shows up a hell of a lot more in this version than in the American cut, actually making it seem like he knows characters like the Dalmatian couple. And it seems like he's aware of other things going on and keeps characters up to date. It seems like he adds to some of these otherwise not so memorable characters, but at the same time, this movie doesn't know which plot to follow since the most important one should be with Angelica.
And what are you doing up there? Hungry? Looking for something to eat?
So I guess in this world, no one is bothered by the fact that mice are like people. So eventually she does meet William, and like most romance plots, they start falling for each other rather quickly. At least in the James Cameron movie, the romantic leads gradually build a relationship after something as dramatic as nearly falling overboard. Here, the two only interact whenever they happen to come across each other. I suppose they do interact more than Elizabeth and Don Juan, since their love was immediate during their first true meeting. But no matter what, this just seems awkward. So another subplot is the animals needing to retrieve a necklace that Angelica dropped at the start of the film, which made its way to Gaston, who ends up giving it to the singer he has his heart set on. It also explains why in some scenes we just randomly cut to an animal exploring the ship for no reason, when really it's for the necklace. And actually, in the American cut, something like this scene occurs right after bringing this subplot up, so it better connects than having it after Angelica brings it up with someone else. But you know, all these stories that are going on at the same time do make me wish that they could do like a compilation film of several stories that happened on the Titanic, showing what may have happened and how it may affect each other, possibly even to provide a little perspective of what it may have been like on the ship prior to and during the sinking. Honestly, it probably wouldn't be the best idea since they may disrespect anyone who did sail on the ship, yet it'd still be better than how they do it in this movie. And it's really hard to decide if this is better or worse than the Mondo TV film. I really want to go back and actually review it for real, because just as it's hard to believe they could allow death in a TV series, but not in a movie, I would find it hard to believe it could be any worse than the sheer annoyance brought on by this film's own stupid shenanigans. And it's the original cut too at that! So with the help of the mice family, the not Lucifer cat and bad chihuahua get captured so they don't mess with the party. After that, the animals get the locket back and return it to Angelica.
I'm sure this is a photograph of my real mother. And I'm going to find her. I know it.
Of course, dear, you will. You'll hug her again one day.
Thank you.
And eventually comes the human party, where William sulks about not having his girl come. He flashbacks a bit, before she does show up for real with the necklace on. Of course, Gaston is confused, and I'm still unsure of what sort of subplot they were going for with him competing with that one guy who was with Singer Lady but promised to return Angelica's necklace if he found it. Yeah, I'm just gonna drop it. Now that Angelica and William have professed their love for each other, the animals can go back down and party the night away. But first, Not Fievel has to stop the Step family from antagonizing Angelica.
Come here at once.
Yeah, no eyes!
Oigan, vengan aquí, así es en mi país. Es una fiesta grande para los amigos.
I think they might have just left the original Italian track in for this. But hey, at least they're willing to feed the prisoners.
Look at that! What, you never seen mist before?
That's not just ice.
What is this, Final Fantasy 15? Things don't show up until you get closer? But yeah, iceberg time. You know what that means.
What did we hit? Iceberg, sir. On the starboard side.
It means the next half hour is going to be full of tension. Or the closest to it. I don't know. So the first ones to suffer are the animals, though the main ones we're used to do save the bad pets from their prison since they're not heartless. Surprisingly, they do at least show some of the problems with leaving the ship from the bottom, such as having the lower class passengers locked away to allow the upper class passengers more time to escape. I don't think they would have been able to knock the gates down so easily, nor would people just walk in place. But yeah, unlike the Mondo film, this one doesn't shy away from the fact that a disaster was happening and people were going to die. If only they weren't so cartoonish throughout the entire movie, or at least tried being more like an American Tale so we have a better plot and meaningful story. Seriously, here's a bit before the ship starts to really sink hard.
Those horrible creatures are making faces at me!
Well, maybe you're bothering them. Come, sit over here.
Hilarious. Now watch people fall to their deaths. And back to funny, as this one mouse who was tormenting this one chef before ends up saving him by tying their crate to his pot. Also, I'm going to assume the other animals who were at the party got away, otherwise we just have Fritz and his gang being pulled by dolphins. And that's it for them. Back to Angelica, she meets William's nanny, who, as was foretold long ago, is her mother. Her excuse for leaving her?
Gertrude seemed so nice. Told us we could get you whenever we wanted, but she vanished. Left no address. All your father had was an account number to pay your support money into.
So she got swindled. The Step family were cheating jerks to the end. So they hoped to find William after he was shown to be dragged under, but they find Sam at least. They do find him eventually, but...
Get that hound off the boat! We're turning over! Throw him back in the water! Let him go, I said! Let him go!
Okay, so... from what I understand, this guy is supposed to be William Murdoch, the first officer of the Titanic, who was thought to have committed suicide during the sinking of the ship, according to some passengers, while trying to launch one of the last lifeboats. which was of course shown during the James Cameron film. Here it seems his attitude and personality shift constantly, whether it involves the singer or Angelica. But I doubt the real Murdoch was anything like this hateful bastard. Anyway, can they save William?
Hello. I told you we'd be together again soon. Sorry I took so long.
And with that, the movie can finally end.
Wait a minute, where are you going? The movie isn't over yet.
Yes it is.
Don't you want to know what happened to everybody?
No, but you're probably gonna tell me anyway, aren't you? Okay, let's just sum it up. Sam caught the jewel thieves and enlisted Fritz and some other dog that was occasionally entangling people for no real reason. Though Sam did adopt 4-kid Sanji's mannerisms. Gaston is now a babysitter to one elderly lady's grandchildren. The Mouse family become part of random chef guy's new restaurant. Horace and Jasper marry Anastasia and Drizella. And of course, William and Angelica get together and adopt the Dalmatians. I guess Singer Lady really did die in the end.
Here's hoping they'll all live happily ever after. Bye for now, and see you soon.
Not in your lifetime! So yeah, that's the movie. Even for an uncut version of an otherwise notorious take on the Titanic incident, I still feel like I was watching a garbled mess. Never mind whatever sort of changes they made between versions, like scenes being rearranged, cut, or changed outright. The whole thing felt like a bad series of events that were supposed to emulate what might have happened on the Titanic, only sillier given the use of cartoonish animals and antics. The characterization is rather poor in that they're mostly stereotypes of various existing characters or character archetypes that follow plot lines to a T, without it being enjoyable or anything different. As for the plot itself, it often feels disconnected given what goes on the side without it meaning anything. It doesn't know who to focus on or what it wants to do. It tries to keep with how the disaster played out in real life, but the animation is so bad at times it makes even Mondo seem competent. I'm almost tempted to say that even after I do rewatch the other Titanic movie for a future review, this one would still be a lot worse in both story and animation. I can't even recommend this for a bad movie night due to how cringy this was. It was hard to even think of anything to really talk about without repeating the same issues. If anything, watching the American version feels more complete, but feels more stupid, while the original is longer but at least a little more comprehensive. Either way, it's not quite close to being Tentacolino or Norm of the North bad, but you'll be broken one way or another, so stay away from this. Next time, we'll be doing another game review, but one of something that's hopefully good. I hope it ends happily for me, and see you soon.
So only happy we'll be, and so only happy we'll be, and so only happy we'll be.
You can't go through this way. Don't force me to resort to violence. You can't go through this way. Don't force me to resort to violence.
There is no way out of here. It will be dark soon. There is no way out of here.